When I was a kid, I remember my mom had a pretty sizable DVD collection of movies that she had purchased. Within her collection, you could find anything from Friday the 13th to Adam Sandler's 8 Crazy Nights. What an idiot she was. Doesn't she know that she could watch anything that her heart desires on Netflix within a split second? Why hoard all of this useless waste? How naive I would be if I actually was stupid enough to believe that. Unfortunately, unlike me, some people just haven't come to that realization.
This is my family's connection with CDs, and what I'm trying to help them to understand.
I don't care. I'm keeping the CDs. I got rid of my albums and they came back. I am not letting this be. I'm not doing this again.
Okay, but here's the thing, is that if you like a song on here, I could play it faster than you'd be able to open this.
I don't remember the songs that I like. I like seeing them and go, oh, I like Oingo Boingo. I like Anita Baker. I want to hear her. I won't remember that she's even alive.
We're on the mom side with this one. I'm actually so on the mom side that I'm making an entire video about it. Well, not about this TikTok in particular, but it is a great jumping off point to what we're actually going to be discussing today. After being told for years that digital media is the future, physical media may in fact be having a comeback. For one thing, people are experiencing a streaming burnout, with the cumulative cost of every streaming platform being just as much, if not more, than cable TV. The problem that streaming claimed it was a solution to. Companies keep increasing their subscriptions month by month, and consumers are overwhelmed. Mina Lay did a great video on this a few months ago, so I highly recommend you check that video out. While the high cost of streaming is certainly a big part of why people want to own physical media again, it's not the only reason. From movies to video games to books, we've been sold this idea that digital is easier, more convenient, and just better than physically owning our media. But people are quickly realizing that this couldn't be further from the truth. With a simple snap of some old guy's fingers, all the media that we read, listen to, watch, even play can disappear from our collection instantly. Time and time again, companies show us that we don't really own anything that they're providing for us, even things that we directly purchase from them. The time for physically owning the things that you love is now, before they can take it away from you. Today I'll be covering the disappearance of different kinds of media, and why switching to physical media is more important now than ever before. I've been wanting to cover this topic for a while now, being someone who collects books and video games. Recently, however, I've decided to start collecting music and cinema. I actually went thrifting a few weeks back and was lucky to stumble upon this. Nirvana, MTV Unplugged. This, if you don't know, is one of their most popular performances, so I was pretty hype, to say the least, when I found this. I actually shit and pissed myself at the same time, and well, finding this is part of the reason why I decided to make this video, actually. In fact, I'm going to play some of this right now. I want you all to see my live reaction because I haven't had a chance to play it yet since I got it. So we're just going to take this out. We're going to put that in there. And I am just going to hit play.
Today we are going to be tackling pornography addiction. Now, first of all, I want you all to know that there is nothing to be ashamed of in opening up about this.
Well, that was weird. I don't know how that got in there. I mean, how would that have got in there, right? Whoever donated this has to be playing some sort of, like, this is a sick game, right? Right? You know?
Masturbation addiction is a very real issue that many young men face. Here are some affirmations that you could say every morning for self-love. I don't want to jerk off right now.
I am not thinking about jerking off right now.
I am not horny right now.
I am not horny right now.
I am not thinking about sex right now.
I am not thinking about sex right now. For all of you kids that are watching, for some reason, a CD is a digital optical disc that stores audio on it. A DVD is similar in looks, but has a larger storage capacity and stores videos on it instead. And a VCR tape, that is advanced level. We're not gonna get into that right now. It's gonna take too long. I'm joking, of course. I don't mean to come across as a pessimistic boomer, although I am one. I'm just employing a little satire for the laughs. We have come a long way since I was a kid. I used to go to Blockbuster with my family to rent movies and video games. My brother and I frequently used GameFly to rent video games through the mail, and how could we forget about the iconic red box? the original Netflix. One of these is actually still available for use in a local grocery store of mine, and the last Blockbuster in Bend, Oregon is still standing tall, renting out movies to those who want to reminisce about the Bush administration. Good times. The downfall of these services marked a grim future for some, but for others, it was a sign of progress. Not only would it be cheaper in the long run to choose streaming over buying and renting all of your movies, but also better for your environment since you'd avoid the clutter of DVDs and CDs. That doesn't mean that they can't clutter your mind though, with outrageous prices and thousands of options from Emmy-nominated TV shows to 50 Shades of Grey ripoffs. And here I was thinking the original 50 Shades of Grey movie was bad. Lately, it seems the pro-digital only people were dead wrong about the future of our media. The death of Blockbuster was just the beginning. Last year, the tech superstore Best Buy announced that they would no longer be selling DVDs, both in-store and online. This comes after their 2018 decision to stop selling CDs in stores. DVDs may be phased out of Best Buy's catalog by early next year, as well as everything else that's positive about this country to be phased out when January rolls around. Umar Shakir writes for The Verge saying, like walking into a library to skim through and smell some books, Best Buy was a place you could pick up, hold, and read movie cases. The store is one of the only comfortable places left to go explore physical movies after Blockbuster movie rental stores started closing for good in the past decade. Target even announced this year that they would be, quote, scaling back the amount of DVDs being sold in stores.
Moving forward, we'll offer select DVDs in stores when they are newly released or during key times throughout the year when they are more popular, like for gift giving during the holidays, Target says.
You can still, however, pick through the $5 DVD bins at Walmart if you so wish.
Let the game begin. Somebody's going.
Now, it's not just retailers who are diverting away from DVDs. Last July, Disney decided to stop the sales of DVDs and Blu-rays for the entire continent of Australia. The last physical release would be Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Hey, at least they ended on a bang, right? Imagine if they ended with Morbius. In the future, Australians who are looking to expand their Disney collection will have to purchase from international markets instead. Companies are clearly shifting their focus from Companies are clearly shifting their focus from physical to digital only. What's the big deal with that though? I mean, I certainly don't buy DVDs anymore. I have HBO Max. I have Max. The thing is, you have absolutely no authority over what these companies choose to do, despite the money that you're giving them. Hillary Remley writes for Collider. Media such as Blu-ray and DVDs allow viewers to retain movies and television series away from the whims of corporations who may choose to scrub or shuffle properties to and away from a large swath of exclusive streaming platforms. The removal of physical media from the marketplace is a clear indication that the public's access to media will become more reliant on the media companies themselves. Now, we all know streaming services are notorious for removing their content at a moment's notice. This could be due to licensing deals or simply because a show isn't making a company enough money. If an asset's value declines more rapidly than anticipated, you can write down its value, meaning it's now worthless. That ultimately creates a loss on your balance sheet, which translates to a tax deduction. If you remove a show from your platform, it's now impaired in terms of earning power and thus literally worthless. Unfortunately, that means some of us are losing easy access to the shows we love, or at least meant to get around to watching someday. Removing content from a streaming platform is not unique. What is unique though, is a company removing a TV show or movie that was only available on their platform, likely meaning that that piece of media would simply disappear with no way to watch it ever again. In 2022, Max did exactly that. 6 Warner Bros. Movies were quietly removed over the course of 6 weeks. Moonshot, Superintelligence, The Witches, An American Pickle, Lockdown, and Charm City Kings were all removed. The removals were noted by users on Reddit in a discussion of the Warner Bros. Decision to nix plans to release Batgirl in theaters, on HBO Max, or via any other platform. Like I said, streaming services removing content from their platforms is nothing new, but removing their own originals and leaving consumers only to be able to watch them from third-party services is scary, to say the least. What was also bizarre about these movies being removed is that there was absolutely no announcement from HBO about the matter. They were there one day and then just gone the next, so if The Witches is your favorite Anne Hathaway movie, I am so sorry for your loss. The most frightening part of the digital era is not that your favorite TV show or movie may be removed from Hulu at a moment's notice. No, a company's power extends even to movies that you have purchased from their platform at full price. Movies that you own, allegedly. For example, I own 4 of my favorite movies digitally on Amazon Prime Video. The Lion King, Simba's Pride, Little Nicky, and 22 Jump Street. I have range, you know? Despite the fact that I paid for these, or more accurately, my mom did after I used her credit card, Amazon can remove these movies from my collection without a moment's notice. The reason behind this is that you don't actually own what you're buying digitally. You're only purchasing a license to watch it. Any service where you can buy movies or TV shows digitally can do this, be it Apple TV, Prime Video, or YouTube. I mean, are people buying movies from YouTube? I don't know. You're basically renting the product for an extended period of time, maybe forever, or maybe until that company decides keeping it isn't worth their time. In essence, they're lying to their consumers. Amazon even confirmed this in 2020 after a class action lawsuit was filed against Amazon's secretly reserved right of removing consumers' access to content purchased from Prime Video. The most relevant agreement here, the Prime Video Terms of Use, is presented to consumers every time they buy digital content on Amazon Prime Video, writes attorney Biderman in response to the lawsuit. These terms of use expressly state that purchasers obtain only a limited license to view video content and that purchased content may become unavailable due to provider license restriction or other reasons. An individual does not need to read an agreement in order to be bound by it. Due to this false marketing, a new law was passed in California this past September by Gavin Newsom, along with other bills intended to protect consumers. A new California law will require online merchants of digital media such as movies, video games, and ebooks to disclose to their customers that they are merely buying a license to use the digital product and don't actually own it. Assemblyman Jacques Irwin, in a news release, said the legislation addresses the increasingly common instance of consumers losing their access to digital media purchases through no fault of their own. This is the kind of bill that should get passed nationwide. Unfortunately, the only bills that we're going to be getting now are ones that ban transgender operations performed on illegal immigrants in prisons. So don't hold out hope. By moving away from DVDs, we're leaving behind important realities about the film industry. One, that the quality of a film on a DVD is better than streaming it. It's kind of like the difference between cloud streaming a video game versus playing an actual copy that you own. Gamers, don't worry, we're getting to you. How could I, of all people, forget about you? Director Christopher Nolan himself has actually been interviewed about why he prefers watching the DVD versions of movies rather than streaming them.
Oh yeah, very much. I think the home video versions of my films, the definitive versions, are the Blu-ray. When you stream a film, it's like broadcasting a film. We don't have much control over how it goes out. And also being able to hold it in your hand and see the artwork and the posters and have the names, it's it's a real thing.
Another reason why DVDs are so important for the film industry is that they provide additional revenue for studios. Again, similar to how record sales could make up for an artist's tour flopping. In Matt Damon's Hot Ones interview, he explains how DVDs were a significant source of revenue for Hollywood. If a film didn't do well at the box office, filmmakers relied on DVD sales to make up the profit. Exploring and finding new movies is a magical part of the cinematic experience. Stumbling upon a random movie that ends up changing your life is a special experience, one that I hold near and dear to my heart. I used to spend my weekends looking through my grandmother's vast collection of DVDs. It's how I discovered most of my favorite movies. The disappearance of movies isn't exclusive to streaming services though. Like a lot of gamers, I've used my PlayStation kind of like a smart TV or a Roku soundbar. Maybe you've even digitally purchased content like movies and TV shows onto your PlayStation. Now, Sony stopped selling movies and TV from the PlayStation Store in 2021, but customers had already amassed large libraries for themselves by that time. In December of 2023, customers were shocked to find out that some of the content they had purchased from the Discovery Network would be completely deleted from their libraries. Sony said on their website, as of the 31st of December 2023, due to our content licensing arrangement with content providers, you will no longer be able to watch any of your previously purchased Discovery content, and the content will be removed from your video library.
We sincerely thank you for your continued support.
There were a total of 1,318 seasons of TV shows that would be deleted. As stated in the terms of service for PlayStation Network, under which the PlayStation Store falls, all content provided through PSN is licensed on a non-exclusive and revocable basis. Similarly, PlayStation software product license agreement states that software is licensed to you, not sold. Now, gamers aren't immune from the Disappearing Act either. In April this past year, famously well-liked company Ubisoft removed licenses for a game called The Crew, which led it to be completely deleted from players' libraries who had thought that they digitally purchased it, giving users a message simply saying,
You no longer have access to the game. Why not check out the store to pursue your adventure?
However, there's one major caveat. The Crew is an online-only racing game, so there really isn't anything to do without the servers. Those servers went down on April 1st, and the game was delisted from digital storefronts. When Ubisoft announced that the servers would be taken offline, it offered refunds to those who had recently purchased The Crew. The game's been around for a decade, so this refund likely didn't apply to the vast majority of players. All of those instances I just went over of movies and TV shows being removed from people's libraries also came with no refunds. Here at Amazon, we take your money and your content. In fact, one of the videos that I watched that inspired me to talk about this was Jared Henderson's video about Kindle. In his video, he brought up a few issues, to say the least, that Amazon's Kindle customers were facing. All of them are the same problems I've been hammering into your skull throughout this whole video. Do you fucking get it yet, okay? All the way back in 2009, Amazon deleted 2 of George Orwell's most popular books, Animal Farm, and ironically enough,
1984?
This was only a precursor to the abuse that consumers are experiencing now. People who bought the rescinded editions of the books reacted with indignation, while acknowledging the literary ironies involved. Of all of the books to recall, said Charles Slater, an executive with a sheet music retailer in Philadelphia who bought the digital edition of 1984 for 99 cents last month. Talk about a run-on sentence. I've never imagined that Amazon actually had the right, the authority, or even the ability to delete something that I had already purchased. Oh, how naive. I was that person once. I also thought America was a great nation, but that's a topic for another day. Amazon's erasure of a book about censorship, despite its irony, would not be the last time that a Kindle user would be fucked over. I mean, at least
Take them out for dinner first, right?
in 2012, Kindle customer Lynn Jordan Nygaard was removed from her account, blocking her from her entire library of books. A man named Michael Murphy with Amazon UK's Executive Customer Relations told Nygaard her account had been determined to be
Directly related to another, which has been previously closed for abuse of our policies.
which policies, he couldn't say. What other account? Murphy wouldn't share that either. While Lynn did end up getting her library back after speaking out and causing public backlash directed at Amazon, the situation was a reminder that we don't actually own anything that we buy digitally. This fine print will always have a clause that says you are a mere tenant farmer for books and not their owner. And your purchases are really only conditional licenses, despite misleading buttons labeled with words like buy this with one click. While cinema, book, and music lovers have all but accepted the fate of physical media, there is one group of people who are standing in protest of the transition to a digital-only world. Gamers. Be happy about it too, because this is the only positive thing that gamers will collectively coalesce over. They usually just mass protest games for having women in them that don't have asses and tits the size of an entire fucking solar system. So, long after every media company has started to move on from physical media, gaming companies are still stuck in the past. Recently, however, they've attempted to test the temperature of the digital-only market with their customers, and the water is cold, to say the least. To the surprise of gamers around the world, PlayStation announced a new PS5 Pro in September. This comes about 4 years since the console was initially launched, and 3 since the year I spent obsessively following PS5 stock alerts on Twitter until I was finally able to order one from Target while standing naked in the bathroom ready to walk into the shower. Too much information. Now, when the original PS5 came out, there were 2 versions. One with no disc drive, essentially digital only, and one with a disc drive that would cost $100 more. Okay, this was concerning. It gets worse though. The newly launched $700 PS5 Pro would only have one console, and it would have no disc drive. But fear not, you could buy one separately for $80. All of this comes after the discovery fiasco that I just covered, as well as 2 previous incidents within PlayStation that left consumers feeling increasingly more concerned. In 2021, Sony announced that you wouldn't be able to use a credit card, debit card, or PayPal to purchase games or add money to your wallet on the PS3 and PS Vita. Instead, you'll have to use a PlayStation Store gift card or load up the wallet tied to your account on the PlayStation Store on the web, your phone, or on a PS4 or PS5 prior to this change. Sony announced that it would be closing the PlayStation Store for the PS3 and Vita, but reversed the plan a few weeks later, saying it made the wrong decision. Now, this doesn't seem like that big of a deal, does it? But combine this with an issue that users faced last year, and it seems like the future is starting to look a little bleak for gaming. Many PlayStation Network users reported that their accounts were unexpectedly permanently suspended. Some people who received these suspensions were understandably distraught, as they may have spent a lot of money on digital PlayStation games that they couldn't access. A message to one user read, "This account is permanently suspended from PlayStation Network due to violations of the PlayStation Network Terms of Service and User Agreement." Xbox has also hinted at a digital-only future for gamers. Their newest consoles, which released a little before the PlayStation 5, also included 2 separate versions. The Series X, which was more powerful and expensive, but with a disc drive, and the Series S, which was cheaper, less powerful, and came with no disc drive. Whereas Sony's consoles had the same performance despite the disc drive differences, Microsoft's consoles were clearly meant to be differentiated based on how serious of a gamer someone was. Kind of like the Nintendo Switch versus the Switch Lite. Microsoft is clearly trying to take a page out of Sony's book though. Last year, documents emerged as part of Microsoft's battle with the FTC, revealing that the company was planning an adorably all-digital Xbox Series X console for 2024. Yes, how adorable that you fully control access to my own purchased media. Microsoft, in some regards, is actually worse than Sony when it comes to supporting physical media. Xbox had already started the transition into the digital-only world with the launch of Game Pass. With Game Pass Ultimate, players have access to online multiplayer and a large catalog of games for both PC and Xbox, as well as the superior cloud streaming experience. The games on the Game Pass are basically all pay to play. It's like Netflix, but for your video games.
Say the revolutionary new Madden NFL game hits the Game Pass shelves one month, but is gone the next.
If you happen to download that and play it, once it's gone, you can't play it anymore. it's completely gone from your own library. An October 2023 report from MIDIA Research, an entertainment industry insights company, showed that there were more than 180 million global game subscriptions active in 2023, up from about 170 million the year before. They project that number to reach 318.5 million by 2030. This isn't entirely different from PlayStation and the monthly PS Plus games that come and go. In fact, a subscription-based service may even prove to be useful for some pockets of gamers. It can be a good way to demo games before buying them, or may be a great way to play games that have little to no replay value. I know that for me, if I take a book out from the library and I like it, there's a chance that I'll buy my own copy of that book in the future in order to read it again. The obvious difference there, though, is that libraries are not for profit like Sony and Microsoft are. An article from CNET breaks down if services like Game Pass are even worth it for some gamers. The author came to the conclusion that 1 year of Xbox Game Pass is $120. 1 year of Xbox Game Pass Plus, sorry, that's a mouthful, is $180, and a physical copy of a new game is between $60 and $70. You could buy up to 3 new $60 games in a year, equal to the cost of Xbox Game Pass Plus Ultimate. What? That's not what it is. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. There we go. If you buy $70 games, you can get 2 for the price of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, or just 1 for the cost of Xbox Game Pass. If you usually play more than 2 or 3 games a year, either Game Pass plan is worth it. Is it really worth it though? We gamers are known for our stubbornness and misogyny, 2 badges that I hold proudly. We aren't giving up our physical media that quickly. I mean, gaming really is the last man standing when it comes to preserving physical media. Unless you're a diehard music fan, you most likely don't own any of your favorite music. Gaming, however, it's more of a lifestyle than just a hobby. God, that sounds so cringe, but it's true, okay? I live, breathe, eat, sleep Elden Ring. Or that may be the undiagnosed autism. Not sure which one that is yet. Xbox hammered another nail into their coffin when rumors started floating around the beginning of this year that they would be shutting down their entire physical game release division. Microsoft has reportedly shut down its division for physical game releases as part of mass layoffs, 8.6% of the gaming workforce. While this doesn't mean that Xbox is leaving the physical games market, it was later noted that these roles could be outsourced. It suggests that such releases will be deprioritized. Microsoft has also shut down the departments dedicated to bringing Xbox games to physical retail, says Jez Corden. Following this, Xbox CEO Phil Spencer claimed that, "I will say our strategy does not hinge on people moving all digital," he added, "and getting rid of physical, that's not a strategic thing for us." It's not just the console companies either. It's entire AAA developers who are pushing the same shit. Just last year, Ubisoft's director of subscriptions, Philippe Tremblay, stated that people eventually got comfortable with not owning their CD or DVD collections, and that a similar shift in attitude needs to happen in gamers. Does it? I know what you're all waiting for. Listen, Nintendo, they're not immune from ridicule either. Although I do like to tickle their balls often, that's all I've ever subjected myself to. I never actually get on my knees for that company because I have a brain. Sure, they've made some of my favorite video games ever, but they're still a for-profit company, and I have given them a lot of profit. Nintendo also has a similar subscription-based service like Xbox and Sony. With a top-tier online subscription, you can play a handful of classic Sega Genesis, N64, NES, SNES, Game Boy, and Game Boy Advance games. However, unlike the Game Pass and PlayStation Plus, they don't give players access to new games after release. Why would you buy a game brand new when you know you could wait a few months for it to become available to you on your Game Pass? Nintendo knows this. Beat'em made a great point in his video about physical games becoming extinct. Nintendo will probably be the last one to hold out because a company largely focused on physical things that their players can buy and collect. Add on to this fact that Nintendo never fucking puts shit on sale, and it makes sense why they haven't taken the switch to the digital-only world. The next Pokemon game that gets sharded out will sell millions of copies at full price. Subscriptions aren't gonna make up for that. Unlike the other companies though, Nintendo has a major problem. Nintendo Switch Online is pretty much the only way to access any old games if you don't have the money, time, or resources to purchase the retro console and games themselves. And their online collection is sparse. I mean, for years, Zelda fans have been begging for games to be simply ported onto the Switch, but Nintendo refuses to do so for some reason, despite the fact that they know that gamers will cough up $60 for that fucking shit. Like I said earlier, I'm a huge gamer, if you couldn't tell. I don't know if it's a good thing if you can't tell, so I own every Nintendo console. Some of the consoles I own are in better shape than others. But if I want to play Twilight Princess, I can take out my Wii U and play on the fucking fat-ass gamepad. Others may not have this ability. On the Wii, for example, you used to be able to digitally purchase N64 games that have been ported onto the shop. but that feature has long since closed down. That, however, wasn't a huge historic event like the shutdown of the Wii U and 3DS eShops in March of 2023. It's worth reflecting on what consumers are losing with it. One of the last affordable, convenient, and legal options for buying a vast library of games. And not just Nintendo's retro library of virtual console titles from its classic era either. Between the 3DS and Wii U eShop's closure, consumers have lost easy access to modern and classic games from a dozen platforms. From more recent systems like the Wii U and 3DS, to the original Wii, the DS, and the DSi. 3 flavors of Game Boy handhelds, the Sega Game Gear, the TurboGrafx 16, as well as the Nintendo 64, Super Nintendo, and original Nintendo Entertainment System. That's bad enough, but on top of this, over 1,000 digital-only titles disappeared from the world permanently when the eShop closed.
Goodbye, Dr. Luigi.
The completionist, who has mostly been exiled from YouTube's gaming community due to an alleged charity scam, actually took on the task of purchasing every game on both the Wii U and 3DS eShops. The task cost over $22,000. Where did that money come from? And all of the games were donated to the Video Game History Archive. Despite the major grievances that people have for Gerard, rightfully so, this is still an incredible task to undertake. However, most of these games will still be unavailable to the general public for an indefinite period of time. Sean Buckley writes for Engadget saying, "I hope that one day these companies will realize that while their back catalogs may not be the most lucrative part of their business, they still hold a lot of value for many fans, and will happily pay access to them if you let us." They won't. No, on top of this, Nintendo has been striking down the last services that people can use for retro gaming. Unlike music, TV, and books, you can only play video games on certain hardware, making the task of playing older games incredibly difficult. For a long time, emulators have been considered the saving grace for people wishing to play old and hard to access games. But they don't come without any issues. Software emulation imitates a console's software. In order to play a game on an emulator, you need a copy of the original title, commonly saved as ROM or read-only memory file. Depending on how the title is copied, what the condition of the cartridge or game disc is in, or the geographic region the game is locked to, you can find yourself with a buggy version of Pokemon Crystal or Super Mario Bros. 3 that can hardly run. Creating and distributing ROMs is also fraught with legal issues. And who loves the law? Nintendo! I'm not going to get into every bozo legal move that Nintendo has taken against its customers, but it's safe to say it's rough. Field Programmable Gate Arrays, or FPGAs, have provided safer, hardware-based solutions. FPGAs essentially emulate the old console's actual circuitry, making it for more accurate representations of older video games. They come at a hefty price though. One popular handheld that utilizes FPGAs, the Analog Pocket, launched at $219. As far back as 2003, Nintendo had a legal page on its official site dedicated to condemning both emulation and ROM downloading sites, claiming,
"The introduction of emulators, created to play illegally copied Nintendo software, represents the greatest threat to date to the intellectual property rights of video game developers."
But to Nintendo, every emulator that isn't created by them is illegal. In October, Nintendo shut down the Switch emulator Rujinx, which was considered to be one of the last frontiers of preserving Nintendo Switch games. For those trained to think like stockholders, concerns over potential lost sales due to piracy could make the downfall of both major Switch emulators, Yuzu and Rujinx, seem like a victory of some kind. For real fans of video games, this is clearly a worst-case outcome. If video games truly matter as an art form, if the medium has any lasting value that deserves to be preserved for future generations, fans cannot count on gaming companies to preserve that legacy. These emulators aren't just used to play old games that people have lost access to, but they can also be used to emulate legally purchased Switch games on PC, so that playing Breath of the Wild doesn't look like you forgot to put your fucking contacts in. A lot of people don't see an ethical or moral issue with emulating as long as it meets certain criteria, such as it being a game that you legally own or a game that isn't available for purchase from anywhere that would support the developers. It's like buying an N64 Ocarina of Time copy from Shady Jeff on eBay versus being able to buy it brand new from a GameStop. The problem there, though, is that a lot of people have no way to access any of these games in a legal way, or at least in a less legally gray way. An emulator would minimize the issues of having to hunt down expensive copies of classic games by providing a service where gamers could select, download, and play any games that are made available. Retro games such as Pokemon Red and Blue and The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time have become incredibly hard to find and expensive to own, so they were re-released on the Nintendo eShop for gamers to experience. And we all saw how well that turned out. The thing is, if Nintendo and other companies would just make their old games easily accessible to all gamers from all walks of life, then there would be no issue at all. Similar to Nintendo's decades-long refusal to make their games' music available, an issue that has been seemingly solved with the arrival of their new music app that's behind a subscription. The release of this new app doesn't change the fact that Nintendo has gone around for years laughing like the fucking Joker while copyrighting anyone who uploaded their soundtracks onto YouTube or used their music in their videos at all. On top of this, they've copyright strike channels showing modded Nintendo games, and most recently, nuked a creator who was showing the emulation of Nintendo games on their channel. Retro Game Corpse, a channel with a couple 100,000 subscribers, has recently had a video taken down at Nintendo's request, which relates directly to emulation of its products. It does appear that my worst fears are true and that I am being specifically targeted by Nintendo, he said in a statement posted on YouTube. My Wii U video was taken down and I received another copyright strike, even though this showcase video is no different than all of the tech demos and reviews I've made on this channel previously. Now, I need to make it clear that I do not support piracy or any forms of illegal emulation. Nintendo, I do not support the emulation of your games, except only by art thou great Nintendo-sama. I also have never illegally obtained copies of games or any other form of media. Seriously, I haven't. I love owning my own games. That's why I'm sitting here making this fucking video. Emulation is quite a gray area, legally speaking, but when a company refuses to re-release their old games or emulate all of their retro games for players to have access to forever, you can see why people would choose this versus the other option, forever losing games to time. But if you think about it, moving games into the digital-only world makes a lot of sense. Now, hold on, hear me out. Nowadays, games can barely even fit on disk, if they can at all. While some may argue that discs are a better option because they install 100% of the game with no internet connection required, for some games that are literally hundreds of gigabytes, this isn't even true. I mean, let's face it, a lot of games don't even fit on disk anymore. The Last of Us Part 2 had 2 discs, one to download the game's data and one to actually play it. The popular Baldur's Gate 3 didn't even release on a disc. This is the only reason why I haven't played this game yet. I want to physically own it. Other games like Alan Wake 2 also followed this example. Realistically, it is easier in some ways to move video games to the digital world. Here's the thing though, no one wants this. No one, gamer, music, movie, book lover, wants to be locked into a fully digital world. In this world, companies have full authority over who plays their games and when their games get to be played, inevitably making millions more off of their customers. In a digital world, you can't borrow your friend's book to read, a game to play, a movie to watch, a record to listen to. You're beholden to these companies. Who's to say that they won't make a little change to everyone's copy without anyone noticing? If you physically own something, they can't change it and they can't take it away. You own it. The ephemerality of digital ownership isn't a new issue. Even though downloading and accessing digital content is often easier than trudging to a retail store to buy a physical copy of a game, you're putting your faith in the platform holders to maintain their digital storefronts, the content on these storefronts, and their account systems so that your access keeps working. Maybe some would argue that collecting the media you consumed is a waste of time, money, and space, but I would disagree. Time and time again, these companies prove that we don't really own jack shit. We're nothing to them. Go ahead and try to take my shit away. Come on, try it. You can't. That must be the copy of the new Zelda game I ordered. I am gonna go get that. Hi, you. Who are you? Got them all. No, I didn't see a copy of Mommy's... What? No. I didn't see a copy of Mommy Spanks Her Naughty Little Stepson in 4K Ultra HD. Can't we just leave it? I don't know where... Listen, Joe, I don't really think... Oh. You're not taking the stuff that I own from me, you government fiend! Look what you've done to me. Look at this. That was my special edition of 50 Shades of Grey, you asshole. Don't forget, that you can still rent movies as well as books from your local libraries, and thrift stores have a vast collection of CDs, books, and DVDs if you wish to peruse for something special. You're probably going to have to sort through 100 copies of Danielle Steele books before you find what you want, but it's worth the fun in trying. I still buy used games from GameStop. Honestly, there's no reason in buying games new anymore. Shit releases looking like it was fucking developed on an Atari until the devs put out over 50 patches over the course of 6 months to make the thing even fucking playable. So the digital world is approaching us faster than ever, and us gamers are the last stronghold. Let's not give up so easily. That goes for all of us, obviously, not just gamers. Well, that's it for me, and that's it for this video. Let me know if you have any collections of books, music, movies, TV, DVDs, whatever, I don't care. Okay? Let me know if you're a collector, what do you collect, and why did you choose to collect it? Did anything I say in this video resonate with any of you? Just comment down below anything you want to comment down below. Before the video ends, I want to give a special shout out to my Patreon members who are part of the Alpha and Delta tiers. If you join my Alpha or Delta tiers, you will get a special shout out by me at the end of all my videos. So thank you to Cap the Time Lord and Olivia Schutt. I really appreciate all of your continued support, seriously, and thank you to all of my Patreon members. If you want to become a member, the link will be down below. With all that being said, I really hope you all enjoyed this video, but more importantly than that, I really hope I see you in the next video. You better be there, watching intently. You'll be there, right? Okay, bye.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough,